Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Let's talk about it. What is going on, y'all? It is Foos here, and today we're going to talk about the absolute meh experience that is Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. This one was coming out as Fast and Furious back in October of 1989, and will be directed by Dominic O'Thennan-Gerard. We would feature some return performances in this one from Donald Pleasence, Daniel Harris, and Ellie Cornell. And this one picks us up basically right where 4 leaves us off. So we think Michael's being blown to smithereens, but he's escaping out the back door, we learn at the beginning of 5, and he's just floating down the river. Now, he's in bad shape, so he ends up floating up to the back door of this old hermit, who ends up nursing Michael back to health for about a year. And then, while this is all happening, young Jaime Lloyd, who at the end of 4 we thought had killed her foster mother, she did not kill her, she merely attacked her, but Jaime is not in good shape. Once we start out in 5, she is rendered mute and been put into a child psych hospital. And about the same timeline of events where a year later Michael is kind of coming to and coming back to health and attacks the old hermit who has been taking care of him for the last year, we learn around this time that Jaime has developed this telepathic connection with Michael. And Dr. Sam Loomis is all about this shit. He's convinced we can use this to defeat Michael somehow. So basically that's what you get in 5, is Michael comes to and is determined to come stalk Jaime down again, and Dr. Sam Loomis is yet again determined to defeat Michael Myers. So that's what we get in 5. Now, we'll start off with the positives here on 5, and the first thing I'm going to point out about it is Daniel Harris as Jaime Lloyd, and the performance that she gives in this movie. It's awesome. As a child actor, she basically carries this movie, in my opinion. Early on in the movie, as I mentioned, she's rendered mute, and she's having these, telepathic episodes where she's seeing everything that Michael is doing and kind of experiencing what's happening through his eyes. And the way that she portrays all of this is awesome. I feel like she's a massive highlight in this movie. Eventually, she does start to communicate later on in the movie, and I'll segue to the other point, because she's a positive in this part as well. But another positive for this movie is a sequence we get later on between Jaime and Michael. It's kind of like the ending chase scene where Jamie's being stalked through this house. And it ultimately leads to a scene where she enters the laundry chute. Probably the most iconic scene of this movie. But it's an awesome sequence where she's kind of stuck, and damn if she does, damn if she doesn't, so to speak, in this moment where Michael's coming initially at her from the top part of it, then he comes down to the bottom where she's kind of fallen down to, and he starts chasing her back up the chute from there and stabbing through the whole thing. And it's just an intense sequence that, being a child actor in that moment, had to be pretty intense for her, I would imagine. And it definitely shows in the movie, comes across incredibly well. Just one of those sequences that you feel the tension as you watch. An incredible performance by her, but not just her. Don Shanks as Michael Myers in this one is another thing that, it definitely has some positives to it as well. He's great in this sequence, but, throughout this movie, I feel like he portrays Michael well. Also, there are, some moments in this that I do enjoy, a couple of sequences. One thing I'll point out is a scene that we get where Michael has just killed this douchebag guy who's Tina's boyfriend, I believe. And he's put his mask on and is driving around in his car and picks Tina up, and they are riding together. And Tina thinks this is her boyfriend, and the audience obviously knows otherwise. But it creates a pretty cool moment there where you're watching Michael drive, and you're seeing some of the ways he's looking at Tina, and just some of the mannerisms, the way he's clenching the steering wheel and stuff. It's just a cool little moment seeing Michael in a different way there that I do kind of enjoy about this movie. That scene also does lead to the whole Cookie Woman moment, which is that's an interesting moment in this movie, that's for sure. I don't know if Cookie Woman is one of the positive reasons to remember this movie, but
Cookie Woman. Cookie Woman. Dale's gas station, 5th and Main.
But I guess that's a good moment to transition over to some of the more negative moments in this one. And I won't criticize Cookie Woman as a negative point. That's more just kind of one of those funny moments you look back on. But So as far as negatives go in this one, though, probably the biggest offense that this movie makes, and the number one point I'm going to criticize here, is this movie's insistence on trying to give you Tina as a main character in place of Rachel. And Rachel has been established through 4 as a major character and a huge part of Jamie's life. This was her foster sister that she developed a pretty good bond with throughout this movie, and you learn as this movie goes on, or I mean, that Rachel is willing to do whatever she can to protect Jamie. So when 5 rolls around and we're presented with this situation where we disrespectfully kill Rachel off way too early in this movie, and then try to force feed the audience Tina, a character that most of them cannot fucking stand, it makes this one a tough one to swallow. And I mean, I can get why a lot of people do find Tina to be an extremely annoying character because she is a little over the top. And she doesn't necessarily annoy me as much as it seems like she annoys some other people. And I will even give her points for going to bat and defending Jamie at the end and being willing to die for Jamie. But therein lies the fucking problem. That should have just been Rachel. That's the whole issue with this movie for me. Rachel should have been the one to last throughout this movie and ultimately sacrifice herself for Jamie. Tina should have been a side character that would have died, early to middle point of this movie. And if those two roles are reversed in this one, I feel like this movie means a whole hell of a lot more. At least it does for me. And you kill off Rachel, a major player and a major character here, super early and in throwaway fashion with a, just I don't know, just seemed like an afterthought. And we were determined that Tina was going to be somebody that the audience was really going to attach to, I guess. For me, it didn't play out that way, and I don't think I'm alone in that one. But that's a massive negative for this one for me. Another thing that I'll point out about this one that I don't like is it's the start of where this whole Cult of Thorn thing starts to really, kind of go crazy. And the ending that we get for this, so I guess I should back. Throughout this movie, we're getting these little teaser moments of this man in black, that's following Michael around. Ultimately, to just lead to, at the end, we get the moment where, he's broken out and it's just a cliffhanger that they leave you with there. Jamie's just looking off screaming because, okay, he's going to ultimately come back, right? It definitely was a wait and see type of ending. They definitely were trying to have you be prepared and excited for 6. That was clearly the intention here. Is, hey, let's make them wait. Let's get them anticipating the sequel. And boy, did they ever make you wait. I mean, my goodness. But I don't know, that ending and the whole thread of the cult sort of thing that's starting to get thread throughout this one. I don't know. I've been on the record for saying the Cult of Thorn aspect of these movies has just never been one that really did it for me. So yeah, that's that, and the way that they end it in such cliffhanger fashion. The last negative that I'll point out about it does kind of pertain to Jamie and what they did to her in this movie. So the whole mute thing that they put on this kid, I felt like was a lot, as well as the telepathic connection thing. I feel like this movie needed to be kind of one or the other. Like if we were gonna have this telepathic thing, then I don't know, the whole mute thing early on maybe just kind of seemed like we were putting way too many layers on this. It seemed like there was a lot of burdens being put on her in this. So I don't know, I'm not really the biggest fan of all of that. I feel like they could have dialed some of that shit back a little bit. If you're gonna have the over the top telepathic connection thing, which in and of itself I'm not really the biggest fan of that either, then maybe we don't need her to be mute at the beginning of the movie as well. Maybe it's just too many things at this point. But this kid's story was already enough as it was for me. I mean, there was already way, the kid had enough going on. Let's just say that. We didn't really need to keep adding more to it. And I feel like this movie just added a lot to Jamie. That's all I got really on negatives here on this one. I think as far as this one goes, it's not going to fall into the category of Halloween movies. That's one I go back to a lot. it's just not one of my favorites in the franchise. There's some things I enjoy about it. Like I said, that laundry chute sequence is top notch, and I really do appreciate what we get from Danielle Harris, and her ability to carry a movie as a child actor like this was very impressive. But overall, just the disrespect to Rachel and the force feeding of Tina, and just really getting more dug in on this whole cult thing. Not one of my favorites. But that's all I got really on this one. As always, y'all, if you've stuck around with me for this long, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. Check out some of the other videos on the channel. I always throw some links to some of the playlists at the end of this. And be on the lookout for the next one. In the meantime, we'll see you.